Hi, I'm Nina Meyerding, and I'm with the Wisconsin Special Education Mediation System. And in this short video, we're going to talk about conflict. And when conflict arises, how do we deal with emotion? Because oftentimes when we are emotional, that's a good thing. Because what it is it's telling us that emotions are important because emotions tell us what is important to us and what matters to us. Emotions show that we care about something. It shows that we're passionate about what we want. Emotions show others when we're angry or when we're upset, when we feel wronged. So emotions are a good thing. Emotions can also affect how we listen, how we talk, how we work with people. So for example, I want you to think about the last time you were upset about something, or you felt attacked, or you were angry, or you were upset, or you were fearful. And I want you to think about how well you were able to listen to the other person in that moment. Because angry people don't listen very well, and attacked people don't listen well, and scared people don't listen well, upset people don't listen well, and embarrassed people don't listen well either. And so while emotions can be really, really good and show us that, and show others that we care, they also can get in the way sometimes of having a really, really good conversation. Because emotions can affect how we hear things. So for example, if you want to send me a message, if you're talking to me and I don't trust you, or I feel uncomfortable with you, or you've done something that I don't like, I may not listen to you as well. And if I've done something that you don't like, or that you're mad at me about, then you won't listen to me as well, simply because I'm the messenger. I'm giving you a message that if somebody else said it to you, you might listen. But if you're mad at me, you may not listen as well, and then we miss a really, really important idea, a really, really important thought, a really important solution that we might be able to have. When people feel like they're on opposite sides of something, so here's our table, and you're on this side, and I'm on this side, and we think of it as an us versus them, we naturally, it's just part of who we are, we're a little bit more suspicious of what they say. We're thinking, well, of course they would say that because they're the school district. Oh, of course they would say that because they're the parent. And we start making judgments about that because of who the people are in the us versus the them way of looking at things. And so that's important for us to understand, that sometimes just because of who's telling us something, we're not listening to it as well. And we miss so much that way. People hear what they want to hear, what they fear to hear, or what they need to hear. So if you really want to hear something, you want to hear a confirmation or a yes on something that you said, you're looking for that. You're wanting to hear something. If you're worried, if you're scared, if you're thinking, oh no, what if they say this? Sometimes we hear what we fear to hear. And sometimes if we really need to hear something, we're looking for that. We're listening and we're going, oh, there it is, that's what I needed to hear. And sometimes we're not even aware that we're listening those different ways. We're not aware that we're listening for what we want or what we fear or what we hear. Emotions can affect how we talk to people. So for example, how we say something is just as important as what we say. So if you're tempted to say something negative, if you're angry, you're upset, I want you to think about, how will me saying this, how if I say these words to this person, how will this help my student? Or how will this help my child? If I make an accusation, or I said, you did this, or you did that, and what I want is the other person to be able to listen to what I'm saying and not be mad at the messenger, then if I say something, how will this help my student? How will this help my child? What is my goal in saying this? Is this to make me feel good and to make them feel bad? And if so, is that really in my best interest to have the other person feeling bad? Because what did we just talk about? We talked about when someone feels bad, they don't listen very well to us. So why would we want them to feel bad? How will this accusation or this attack or this statement, how will that make things better for my child? And if we think about those things, what is our purpose? What is our goal in this meeting? It can be really helpful because it might change how we say the things we want to say. If we think about us versus them, and we talked before about that being on the opposite side of the table, and if we think about it, think back to that messenger piece we just talked about. You are the them and I'm the us. Then I don't listen to the them as well as I listen to the us. So if there's no them, and it's just us together on a team, then we approach things differently, and we think about it as a team, and we think about it as we think about it as us, not them or you. And that doesn't mean we have to agree about things. It's okay to disagree with other people. You're all working together, and it's okay to have your own thoughts and your own ideas and your own opinions and your own positions. But what you do is you separate the people from the problem, which means here's our issue. What's the best way to have Jimmy meet his goals? Or what is the appropriate placement? Or how do we make that transition from high school? That's the issue. That may be where we have the dispute. But it isn't that I am against you. It's that we have two different ways of looking at something, and we need to be able to listen to each other and talk to each other, even though we have some very strong feelings about it, which means what we're trying to do is to fix a problem, to solve the issue, rather than attacking the person and making it personal. And that means that even though you disagree, you may be miles apart when you start your conversation about what is right to have happen, that by focusing on the problem and not emotionally attacking the person, that you might be able to find a solution much more easily because you're looking at the issue in a very different way. It's okay to feel angry about the past. It's okay to feel that either as a school district or a parent, the other side hasn't treated you the way you want to be treated. No one can tell you that you shouldn't feel what you feel. And I bet the last time that anybody, your friend, someone in your family, someone at work said, oh, you shouldn't feel that way, that it didn't make you feel all that good. You said, well, I can feel the way I want to feel. Don't tell me I can't feel that way. So you are allowed those feelings. You can have those feelings. But here's the thing. That's feelings about what's happened in the past. And we can stay stuck in the past and continue to blame the other person for how we feel because of things that we perceive that they have done that haven't been what we wanted. But we can't change that. We can't change what happened. We don't have a magic wand that say, let's go back and do it again. But what we can do is that we can focus on the future and we can change that for the better. We can say, for example, we haven't communicated well in the past. It seems that every time we talk, we are just kind of mad at each other. How can we talk in a different way? What's the way we can have a communication plan that'll work better? How can we take the mistakes that we've made, or even if there haven't been mistakes, and it may just be that we haven't been able to express ourselves well, how do we change that as we go forward? How do we ask questions? Well, first of all, when you're upset, it's really easy to make a question sound like an attack on the other person because you're angry or you're mad. But now notice that what we call the inflection or how we say it can really make a difference. For example, why do you think that's even possible? Sounds like an attack. Who do you think you are? I know my child better than any psychologist. How could you make that kind of mistake? Is this going to be the same problem we had last year? Don't you think you're overreacting? Now notice the tone in that. Those questions come across as something that when someone is having those questions come at them, up go the barriers, we get angry, we're not, and again, we now don't like the messenger that's asking us a question that way. And when we don't like the messenger, when we don't like the person who what we feel is attacking us, we don't listen to them well. Use questions of what we call clarification. And what clarification means, clarifying or getting more information, getting more ideas, understanding something better. And if we use questions of clarification rather than questions of attack, then we'll be able to move forward. So here's some examples of questions where you're trying to find out information. Now notice, you can ask these questions if you're thinking, I disagree with them, I don't agree with this proposal. But instead of saying, I don't agree with the proposal, say, okay, what would it look like if we did what you're asking? How would this particular goal be met if we did that certain thing? Tell me more about that idea. What needs to change for us to move forward? How can we develop goals to meet Jimmy's needs? Now notice, part of you is going, well, why should I ask them more about ideas that I don't even agree with? I mean, I should just tell them I don't agree and move on. But think about it. If you say, tell me how you came up with that, or how will this meet that goal, or what would it look like, you're listening to the other person. They may say something that gives you new information, a new idea, a new way of looking at something. And instead of thinking, I don't like anything about that, you might say, oh, you know what? There's some parts of their idea that I wasn't that crazy about, that I didn't really like. But you know what? This part of the idea that they just talked about, I bet if we kind of put that with my idea, we might have a better idea. And you come up with that idea together because you were listening in a different way and you were asking questions in a different way. So, when you are feeling upset, acknowledge that it's okay to feel that way. If you try to fight it and to say, I shouldn't be upset, but deep down you feel like you are entitled to or you should feel upset, you're not going to be very effective trying to tell yourself, calm down, don't feel that way. Just sort of say, to yourself, I'm upset. And take a breath. And then to decide if that's enough before you say something, or if in fact what you really need is a break. Sometimes we get a little irritated. All we have to do is sort of take a breath, and then we're able to respond. Other times we take a breath, and that was not enough, that we're still really angry. And in that situation, it might be really helpful to say, you know what? I just like to take 5 minutes. I just like to take a break. And if you're with a mediator, you can say to the mediator, either I'd like to have some separate time with you now, or I'd like to take a break. I need to walk around the block. And realize that you may not be asking that just for yourself. So for example, if someone is getting mad at you and you're beginning to feel attacked, you can say, you know what? I think we need a break, or I would like a break. So you can do it both for yourself and also because you'd really like to hear the other person, but you can't because they're yelling at you. Pause before you speak. Silence is not a bad thing. Sometimes we just need to have a pause, be in the room for a minute, and not feel like we have to immediately respond to what the other person said. Ask yourself, will this help the situation? What I'm about to say, will this help this, or will this hurt this? If I say this thing to the parent, is that going to make it less likely that they'll listen to me the next time I have something I want to say, or more likely? If I say this to the teacher, or I say this to the principal, is this going to help me? Is this going to help my son or my daughter? Think about what you're going to say, and not just the what of it, but the how of it. Remember, get rid of the questions that sound like they're accusations, or that they're threats, or that you're upset. What you can say. Well, it's okay to say you're upset. Own it. Acknowledge it. Say you're upset. You might even say, and I have to let you know that because I'm upset, I may be hearing things a little bit differently from you than I would if I wasn't upset. Because again, when we're angry, we're upset, we're frustrated, we don't listen the same way as when we're feeling comfortable. If someone is yelling at you, it's okay to say to them, you know, it's really hard for me to listen to you when you're shouting at me. I know you're angry at me, I get that. But I really want to hear what's important to you. And when you're yelling at me, when you're telling me the things that are important to you, I got to tell you, I'm hearing more how you're talking to me, the shouting, than I'm hearing maybe really important information that you want to share with me. So what I'd like to do is to take a break, and I'd like us to figure out how you can talk to me in a way where I can understand why you're frustrated, or why this is hard, or what it is that you want, without having the shouting be the thing that I'm hearing. I want to listen to you. It's hard for me to listen to you when you're shouting at me, and it's hard for me to understand. Your goal is to listen, and your goal is to understand. Your goal is also to be heard, and to be listened to, and to be understood. A two-way conversation where you're going to move forward uses both the ability to hear and be heard, and to understand and to be understood. It's not a one-way street. It has to go both ways. So in summary, as we finish, I want you to think about us as human beings. It used to be that people thought that there was a part of us that was our thought and reason, and part of us that was emotion, and we could sort of turn one off and turn the other on. So, okay, I'm not going to be emotional, now I'm going to be logical. Or, now I'm really upset, so my logic is out of the window. But what we know now is that thought and emotion are all tied up together, and they work together, either for us or against us sometimes. And so we need to use that emotion. We can't just turn it off, but we need to use that emotion and our thoughts together in a way that other people can understand us, and a way that we can be heard, and a way that we can hear and be understood. We need to use those emotions to create a relationship with the person that we're working with and that we're talking to that is focused on the best interests of the student, or the best interests of our son, or the best interests of our daughter. Why am I saying what I'm saying? What needs to change for us to move forward? How can I express myself in a way that people know that I'm upset, but I won't anger them so much that they don't want to listen to me anymore, or they'll think of me as a problem, rather than someone who is upset with really good reasons and who also has a constructive way forward. To deal with the past, honor what's happened, but focus on the future, where your emotions and your thoughts are working together, and think about having them work together in a more productive way. Thank you so much for your time.